Two Cows Gaming fans, this week we are talking Metroidvania games. I got 5 games I'm going to talk about, and I got one that I'm going to play, and I also got a big announcement. So with that, let's get into the show. Welcome back to John Cow's Corner. I am John Cow, one half of Two Cows Gaming, and I am here to talk to you this week with Episode 7, Metroidvania Games, as you can see in the title up above me. A little bit of housekeeping first, before we get into the games. Down below in the comments there, in the description of the video, you can see all of my pertinent details, the website, the TikTok, the Facebook, the Twitter, the Twitch, all that good stuff. Go ahead and hit follows there, and you will be kept abreast of everything in Two Cows Gaming World and John Cow's Corner. That's where I tend to do all of my work. I'm going to start committing to doing one blog a week. First blog will be up next Friday. So go to TwoCowsGaming.com and check that out when you get a chance. But I guess we'll just go right ahead and get into the big announcement. This one has been coming for about 18 months, and I finally have it. But Play Magi finally is caught up on their production run of the Polymega system. I got my deluxe unit last Tuesday, and then I got my N64 unit today. So that's going to open up a lot more avenues of different games that I can play on the stream, in the podcast. So when you're looking at the podcast, go ahead and make a comment in the comments section. Let me know if there's any game genres that you want me to cover or any specific games you want me to play, and I'll be happy to take that under advisement. And maybe you'll see your requests or comments on future episodes of John Cow's Corner. But that's the big one. I bought the deluxe bundle plus the N64 unit. I've been playing it on and off the last few days, and I gotta say, without ruining anything, it is one of the best retro game consoles that I have ever come in contact with. Now, I used to use the Hyperkin Retron 5, still a great unit, and for maybe people that aren't looking to play every single game on the market, that's a great fit. It runs about $125, $135. But if you've got the money to dump on a Play Magi Polymega unit, please do so. The base unit alone is fantastic, and I will put a link in the description on where you can find the compatibility components or the compatibility features of the of the Polymega and all of the different game systems that it plays. But moving forward, as we get into different games and different genres, I will be taking the opportunity to play on the Polymega. Now, they don't endorse me. They're not paying me anything for this. But as most of you who have watched me on Twitch and have followed me for a while know, I've been expecting this system for a long time. And I am very happy to say it is a fantastic system from top to bottom. So, take that for what you will. It's not a paid advertisement. I don't get a dime for that. But just in my experience playing it over the last week, I'm really impressed. And I will be releasing more information on my TikTok and on my YouTube channel about the different components of the unit so you can see kind of what the quality is and that kind of thing. But without further ado, we are going to jump into the games segment, where I'm going to talk about a few Metroidvania games that I've come across that I think you might enjoy. And then, of course, we'll wrap up the day with the play segment. And I actually do have a suggestion box today that's kind of in the vein of what the games we're talking about are today. So with that, we're going to jump into the game segment. All right. Welcome back. This is the game segment where I talk about 5 games in the genre that we are talking about. Today is no exception. I've got 5 unique games for the Metroidvania genre that I think you'll all get a kick out of. But to start with, we are going to kick it off with one of the games in the series that brought this genre its name, and that is Metroid Dread for the Nintendo Switch. It was released in October of 2021. It is a return to the 2D side-scroller with 3D backgrounds. It's kind of a departure from the Metroid Prime Echoes formula. It is a solid entry in the franchise. It's not my favorite game in the franchise, but it is very unique, and it's very kind of special for a lot of people. First of all, the reason I do like it is that it is a Metroid game. It has all of the trappings, all of the things that makes Metroid games special in it. You have the morph ball. You have all the different attachments to Samus's weapons. You have the upgrades to the armor. You have the different environments to explore. But in this outing, it actually takes a little bit of departure from the Metroid formula and introduces some rogue-like elements. It has a very steep learning curve, which is one of my criticisms of it. The visuals are absolutely beautiful. If you look at the backgrounds, they're awesome to look at. It has cinematics that are very well done. There is some voiceover. There is a computer that you keep in touch with, an AI that you keep in touch with that helps you navigate the different areas in Metroid Dread. But, for me, even on rookie settings, fighting some of the other creatures in this game is very frustrating because there is a complex kind of counter and escape process. And if you don't time it right, you end up killed and you have to respawn and then you have to start all over again. And it's just one of those things where it's like, look, I just want to play this game and have some fun and remember the good old days of playing Metroid. I don't need to play like it's Elden Ring or a Dark Souls. I just don't. The other criticism I have, and this is of all of Nintendo's outings on the Switch, is that there is no 4K. That system's not capable of 4K. And I think this game would have benefited from 4K because it is absolutely gorgeous to look at. The cinematics are fantastic. The audio is fantastic. And I keep saying that, but again, the story is very engrossing, and it kind of is a little bit of Legend of Zelda going on with it. But then there's some new enemies you have to fight called Emmys that are very difficult to defeat. Now, the upside of defeating them is that you do get permanent upgrades to your gear and to your armor, in addition to the different things that you can discover by exploring the maps. But if you're easily frustrated by games that require perfect timing, you might want to steer clear of this one. I'm going to be playing it in my spare time. I finally figured out how to do the counter dodge kind of thing. But even then, it's still a struggle for me because, I don't have the manual dexterity in my fingers that I used to. So, don't hesitate to check it out if you're into roguelikes. I think you'd get a kick out of this. And it's worth checking out. So, moving on. The second game that I want to talk about. Is Ori and the Will o' the Wisps. It is the sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest. This was released in 2020. It is a 2D side scroller with 3D backgrounds. They are absolutely gorgeous to look at. The controls are very responsive, but they are not intuitive. You have to do some experimentation. You have to pay attention to the on-screen prompts. You have to kind of be aware of your environment that you're in to learn how to play the game. The story is engrossing, and it kind of touches the heart with me because it is an adoption story, and my son is adopted. Domcow has been with us ever since he was a baby, but we did adopt him, and that kind of hits me where I live, so to speak. The controls are relatively simple, but again, they're not intuitive. The short time that I've played this, I've discovered that the first boss is really difficult to beat. I have not figured out how to beat him yet. It's a giant wolf, and I generally, when I'm playing a game for the first time, try to avoid using hints online, but I think in this case I may have to make an exception because I don't like being frustrated by games for hours and hours on one boss. I didn't like it when I had to play Elden Ring and do the same thing. I don't like it when it's in Metroidvania games. So I might have to go out and see what I can find out for a boss guide on how to beat the wolf. But still a great game. Definitely worth your time, and that's all I can say about it. All right, the next one is probably one of my favorite games in the series that it's from, and that is Super Metroid on the Super Nintendo. Now, I'm playing this on the Switch Online version. It has HD graphics, but it's still the same game. They didn't do like a full reskin or a remake of it. They just updated it to have HD graphics. This game was released in 1994 on the Super Nintendo. It's the third game in the series. The second one was on Game Boy Advance. It is a 2D side scroller. The backgrounds are 2D as well. The main reason I love it is because of the graphics and the visuals. They're just top notch, and they really push the limit of the Super Nintendo. The way that it looks more like an arcade game when you're playing it. And the controls are very easy to learn. They're very good at telling you what you need to do. The story is engrossing, and much like the original Metroid, you have to move between different areas and different levels. But in order to get to some of those levels, you have to get better gear, or you have to get specific gear. And it has everything: morph ball, rockets, lasers, the whole 9 yards. The color palette really pops, which was one of the staples of the Super Nintendo back in the day. It has a great musical score. I could go on and on about how awesome this game is, but it's damn fun. As far as criticism, I only have one big criticism, and that is that it is a bit short. It took me about 7 hours to play and beat the first time I played it. Now, I may have inadvertently used some shortcuts. I didn't realize that there were some shortcuts, but I do remember beating Kreese and Ripley a little bit too quick. But overall, still a great game. It's on the Nintendo Switch Online store. You can also use it as part of the online subscription, which is what I have, which is kind of like Game Pass. And I think you can also pick it up at a used game store or on eBay for somewhere between $5 and $10. It's not a real expensive game, depending on if you want it complete in box or not. But if you haven't played this game, you haven't lived. It is fantastic. You won't be disappointed. Please check it out. Now, the next game I'm going to talk about is available on all the platforms. It is something that I just started playing a few days ago. I'll tell you the broad strokes of this game when we get into it. But understand, I've only played a very small portion of it. That game is Iconoclasts. It was released in 2018. It is a 2D platformer. It has lots of puzzles to solve. The reason I like it is because it has a nice, bright color palette. It reminds me so much of Super Metroid in that sense. The controls are excellent. It's an interesting story. You move from area to area, much like you do in all the other Metroid games, to unlock different abilities and even different characters. There are different characters you can unlock in this game and take instead of the main character. Now, the main character is a unregistered engineer. She has to use her father's wrench to get to different locations, to get to different abilities, and basically solve the problem of the game of who killed her father. It's, again, it's just, look at these bright colors. It's just so fantastic. There's different places to save. It's very easy to do. And the controls are responsive. I will give it that. And it's easy to navigate the user interface when you're playing to find out certain things, certain missions, certain items that you need. It's very easy to manipulate and navigate through the game. It's not, again, you know, it's not clear on screen what you need to do. There are little, like, check marks or checkpoints that kind of give you a hint, but you have to kind of figure it out on your own as well. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing. I have a limited amount of time to play games in the evenings, and when I want to play a game, I don't want to spend 3 hours on one boss or 3 hours on one puzzle. I want to figure it out, move on. Figure it out and move on. And some of these games on my list are not conducive to that. Sometimes you have to really sink some time in it to figure it out. Again, I qualify that by saying I am not the kind of person that goes out online to figure out how to get somewhere in a game or beat a certain boss or acquire different items. I try to just play the game, figure it out on my own, and if I really get stuck, then I will try and look things up. But that is the game, Iconoclasts. All right, the final game on my list, if you haven't guessed already, this one is my favorite game in the series of all time. It came out in 1987. It was on the original Nintendo Entertainment System, and that is the original Metroid game. It is such a fantastic adventure game. There are just so many different levels. It's a side-scroller. You get so many different weapons and types of gear. The story is amazing. The surprise ending when you find out that Samus is actually a woman it was kind of unexpected and very cool. But I've beaten this game a couple different times on my own, and I didn't have any tips or hints on how to beat it. But it's such a good game. The visuals are fantastic. The color is fantastic. Really pushes the limits of the Nintendo. Now, I'm playing on the online version that's included with Nintendo Online Pass, but it's still the game. You still collect all the items you need to get to different places. The enemies still respawn. The cool thing is that in this version, you don't need to use the password. You can just exit out of the game, and when you go back into the game, it'll pick up where you left off. One of the advantages of playing on the Nintendo Switch. You could pick this game up. I think I picked it up last summer for the Nintendo for about $10, maybe $5. I don't remember. It was really inexpensive. Now, I just got the cartridge. I didn't buy the box or any of that because that can get expensive if you buy it complete in box. But again, if you're looking to get into Metroidvania games, start with this one. This is the one that started the craze. It's fantastic. It really is. It's a great story. You can beat it in about 6 or 7 hours. The only criticism I have of this game, and I alluded to it a few minutes ago, is that it is a password game. You have to write down a password, and it's not a short password. It's not like 5 or 6 characters. It's 16 characters long with special characters, and when you're using the Nintendo controller to type it in, it's a pain in the rear end. I don't know why they didn't go with a battery pack a la The Legend of Zelda, because Zelda had come out by this time, and that is a much better way to do the saves in this game. You just pick a box, save it, and then when you go to the different areas, you can just hit save. But overall, this will always be my all-time favorite Metroid game. I can't wait to play it again. I never get tired of playing it. There's just so much to say about this game. If you haven't played it, play it. You will not be disappointed. It is arguably one of the best side-scrolling shooters, available. All right, so up next is going to be our play segment. Again, I'm introducing a new game. I have not spent a ton of time with it. I just wanted to highlight it, talk a little bit about it, and give you some more ideas on what to play. So I'll be right back, and we will talk about the game of the week. All right, welcome back. We are at the Game of the Week section of the podcast, and this week we are talking about... Oops. All right, welcome back. We have arrived at the game spotlight section of the podcast, and this week we are talking about the Mobius machine. This is a Metroidvania that came out about a year ago, April of 2023. It is available on all the major platforms: PC, Xbox Series X, PS5, and Mac. You can also play this on a Stream Deck if you so choose. It takes about 14 to 16 hours to beat this game if you're a decent gamer, but if you're like me and just a mediocre player, it's going to take you longer than that. You're encouraged by the developer to explore at your own pace. All of the areas that you can explore, you can do in any order you want. You don't have to do them in a specific order. But you know, the main reason it caught my eye was I saw another streamer talking about it online, and I saw the visuals. I'm like, I have to check this game out. The visuals of this game are outstanding, absolutely gorgeous. 3D backgrounds, 3D environment. You know, the character is kind of a space-looking guy. He kind of steals a little bit of Metroid, but by and large, he looks more like a human astronaut. The whole concept of this game is that you respond to a distress call and your ship crashes, and now you have to try to figure out how to get off of this particular island. You know, you start out with a basic gun, and you have health. You also collect energy, and you collect different components so you can manufacture different things. There is a manufacturing and crafting component to this game. And energy you can use two different ways. You have hit points, and then there's energy that you collect, the little like blue sparky things when you kill something. And as you collect those store up, and you can use them to make your attacks more powerful, or you can use them to heal yourself. As you can see, when I was playing this the other night, I struggled because I'm not very good at jump puzzles. As all of you know, I hate jump puzzles. They are my worst nightmare. Just because of the dexterity required. But graphically, this game is fantastic. The controls are tight and very responsive. You know, I can't say enough about that. The sound design is excellent. The music is fantastic. The ambient sound and the different cues, like when you're low on health or when you take damage, it's really kind of gets your pulse going. And I really like that. It's just one of those games that caught my attention, and I've been playing it here and there. I have reached a point where I'm a little frustrated, so I'm taking a little break from it. But overall, this is a fun game. You know, the only criticism I do have is that what you need to do for different levels and how to get to different levels is not extremely intuitive. You have to really, you know, play around, experiment. And again, going back to my comment earlier, I only have so many hours in an evening that I can devote to playing games. Typically it's an hour and a half, and then I have family time, and then it's time for me to go to bed because I gotta work. So I don't have a whole lot of time to dink around figuring out puzzles. I just want to figure out how to play, you know, get past whatever obstacle it is, and I want to move on. So these little batteries that you see me shooting, those are energy, and as you save that up, you can heal yourself. And there you go. There's some spikes. Those are indestructible. You can't, if you land on them, you take quite a bit of damage. But you can use energy to heal yourself. There's such a great variety of different critters for you to fight. But as you can see, it's a lot like Metroid. You go between levels, and there are little signs like that one that says exit. That kind of points you in how to get out of these areas. But overall, I'm impressed. It's a good game. There's your inventory. Again, the user interface is very easy to navigate and find out what you need. It also has different recipes or different kind of blueprints is what they're called for you to build different things so you can get to different areas. It's got all of the trappings of a good Metroid game. And, you know, I think right now, I think it's like $25 on Xbox Store. You might be able to get it cheaper elsewhere, but again, you can play it on all the platforms. So whatever platform you're on, go ahead and pick it up. You won't be disappointed. Um, you know, the only the only other criticism I have is the number of jump puzzles in this game can be frustrating, um, maddening even. But as you get better at it, as you get more nimble, you learn the different timing and you learn the different things you got to do, and you do get better at it. Even like the other night when I was playing, I noticed that I was getting a lot better at navigating the different levels and the different layers of the game. I still am not very good at avoiding falling on spikes, but that's a separate story altogether. If there's a natural hazard on a map, I'm going to be the one that finds it. So, please don't hesitate. Check this game out. It's like $25 or something like that on XCOM Game or Xbox Game Pass. You can get it on PC Game Pass. You can get it on PlayStation. You can get it on Steam. You can get it on Mac. Check it out. This is the first boss that you fight, and it was a lot of fun to kind of tinker with that. So here's the beginning when you first crash on the planet. You already saw this once, but it's still kind of cool the way that they set everything up. With that, we are going to finish out the day with a suggestion box comment. It's going to be very short, but I think it fits. So I'll be back in a minute. All right, folks, it is suggestion box time, and we're talking about Metroidvania games, and there's been all kinds of different side scrollers, and different adventure games. What I would love to see is a classic side-scrolling Metroidvania Star Wars game where you collect different elements to create different lightsabers and different types of armor and unlock different abilities through holocrons. And throw all kinds of different weapons and stuff in it. You could set it virtually in any era of the Star Wars universe. You could do Old Republic. You could do Great Republic. You could do the Time of Darkness. You could do the Post Empire. I think there's a rich, fertile ground for that type of game to do a Metroidvania type Star Wars. Now, I know that there's an argument that Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor are Metroidvania games, but I feel like those are more action RPGs than Metroidvania. I think if you do it kind of like a Castlevania game, like a Simon's Quest or a Metroid game, and instead of like having the different energy tanks and all that stuff, but different like items that you can gather as a Jedi or as a Sith to play the game, I think that could be very cool because you have the different abilities, force abilities that you could learn, like Force Lightning, or you could learn jumping, or you could learn speed. And I think it could be a very cool concept project. So that's my suggestion box. Developers, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, what is our next project going to be? I would say develop a true Metroidvania Star Wars game. And pick whatever freaking era you want to set it in. Hell, make a whole series of different games in different eras. So, if you want some ideas, give me a call, shoot me an email. There's different ways to get a hold of me. But other than that, that is going to be the end of the show today. As I always say, be safe, be kind, and remember, no matter who you are, no matter where you are loved and you do matter. And take that to the bank. You do matter to somebody somewhere. You are important. Don't let the world get you down. Don't let the situations going on around the world get you down. We'll all get through this together. So with that, I will see you next week when we are talking about tower defense games. Thanks, everybody.